let's get started. Now, before we do all of this kind of work here, let's go over the quiz. So that's step one. Question number one is somewhat like the last quiz's question. And it says, simplify the expression below. 10 to the third times 10 to the negative 7. Since I'm multiplying those two common bases, what do I do with the exponents? Add them. And that's 10 to the what? Negative 4. Very good. Okay. So the next one begins what our chapter is all about. And that is, or this part of the chapter anyway. Geometry. 1, 2, 3. Why do I sense that there's like some people making noise who aren't paying attention to what's going on? Now the question says, which pair of angles must be congruent? Now, the other day we talked about a situation called vertical angles. We said that whenever you make the letter X, you're creating vertical angles. And the ones that are across from each other, like these two here, are always going to be equal to each other. We also said that these two, which are also across from each other, will be equal to each other. So for argument's sake, if this guy was 30 degrees, what would this guy over here be? 30. Now does that mean this guy down here is 30?
No.
No. That's completely different. These two have to add up to 180, so this is 150. So then the one above it is 150. Now, that's also cool because altogether this thing makes like a whole big circle, and there's 360 degrees in a circle, and 150 and 150 is 300, and another 30, Spencer, is 330, and another 30 is 360. So it makes sense. But we want to take away from this the idea of vertical angles, namely that the ones that are across from each other, like the 30 and the 30, are equal. So look at this diagram and find which two angles are directly across from each other. Rich? 1 and 3. So therefore, angles 1 and 3 have to be congruent. Now, 2 and 4 are kind of across from each other, but do you see how there's this line in the middle here, stopping it from being this whole angle? That would be equal to 2, so that's why that one's not an answer. Okay, now the next one says, and this was the question that personally I thought was the hardest question on the quiz, and I expected people to struggle with, and a good number of people got it right, because there were probably like 4 or 5 kids in the class who got 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it says that the measure of angle 1 is 113 degrees. What's the measure of angle 4? Now, somebody tell me something measure of angle 4 is not.
67.
It is going to be 67. Can you tell me what it's not going to be based on the diagram? It's not going to be 77. Good. It's also not going to be 113. The guy that's 113 is directly across from it over here, angle 3. But do you see how I'm creating half a circle here? How many degrees in a whole circle? 360. This is a half a circle. So half a circle is 180 degrees. Anytime you get two angles that make a straight line, they add up to 180, and we call that supplementary. So if I do 180 minus 113 and come up with 67, that's going to be my answer. So the third one is 67. And then the fourth one looks like this, and it says that this is 110 degrees, and it wants to know the measure of angle x. What would the measure of angle x be? 110. So tomorrow you will get very similar 4 questions, and I don't think it's particularly difficult, and I think if you practice at it, you'll be able to get them right, okay? Any questions? Good. Now let's take all of that knowledge and run it one step forward to today's do it. Here are some definitions that if you don't know them, you need to write these down, okay? Complementary means two angles that add up to 90. It does not mean, my, that thing in your hair looks wonderful today, Chris.
Thank you.
All right? That may be a complement, but complementary means adds up to 90. Two angles that add up to 90. I could turn around and say, Caitlin, I think I would look wonderful in a coif.
What's a
It's kind of when you flip the hair back, something you will never see me in. And for starters, I don't have enough hair to do it.
Never know.
But Teletubby, he can get away with anything. So that would be a complement. Complementary means two angles that add up to 90. Supplementary means two angles that add up to 180. Now, what does congruent mean? God bless. What it really means is same size and shape. And in terms of shapes, it means equals for the shapes. It's the same concept as equals are for numbers, congruent is for shapes. What are vertical angles? What letter do we always look for vertical angles? X. And it's the ones that are across from each other. And what letter do they always form? We just said it, the letter X. Okay, so let's take a look, if we can, at this number one diagram, right? Actually, this one's kind of up higher. What letter do you see here? Everybody, what letter?
X.
X. Ethan, you looking up here? There's the letter X. Since it's the letter X, what do I know about those two angles? They're what? They're congruent. And what are they called? Starts with a V? Vertical angles, and they're congruent. So since this equals this, I can just write that. 4n minus 3 equals 6n minus 33. Can you guys solve that, please?
What is the third one say?
Same size and shape. You're going to get a lot of questions in this chapter where you have to write equations based on what you see in the diagram. What's it? 18? All right. Actually, I don't think that's right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's wrong. Okay. So the first thing I need to do is get letters on one side, numbers on the other. Is this the same side situation or opposite side? Opposite. Now, usually, you might be tempted to subtract 6n because it's kind of the case that we normally start on the right. But you're supposed to start whatever the smallest number is. So minus 4n, die. What kind of 3 is this, guys? Don't lose track of it. Negative 3 equals 2n minus 33. Then I add 33 to both sides. Die. 30 equals 2n. And I divide by 2. 15 is n. We are going to have a ton of questions in this chapter that do that kind of work. So if you're weak on equations, you need to be in extra help to get that straightened out once and for all. And if you could see the relationships, whether they're equal or add up to 180 or 90, and if you can solve the equations, you're going to find the chapter pretty easy. Next up. Now, let's take a look at this next diagram here, diagram number 1. What do you think those two angles add up to? They're not equal, clearly, because they're not across from each other. So what do you think they have to add up to? They add up to 90 degrees, because this is a picture of a right angle. Right angles are used all over the place in construction. Look here. What's this? Right angle. Look at the board. Right angle. Look at the walls that hold you up. Look at the ceilings. Look at everything. There are right angles all over the place. So this is a picture of a right angle. Whenever you make like an L or a T, you have right angles. Now, if it's a right angle, how many degrees are in that angle? 90. So if I add them, if I do 2n plus n minus 12, I have to get 90. By the way, what was the word before that we said adds up to 90? Very important. We just did all of those words. Complementary. Very good. Is this the same side situation or opposite side? Same side, so 2n plus 1 is 3n, minus 12 is 90, adding 12, I get 3n is 102, divide by 3, n is 34. Okay? Now, if I wanted to find out the exact angles, this one here is 2n, which means 2 times 34, which is 68. And this is 34 minus 12, which makes 22. But I think we only wanted to solve for n, so just saying n is 34 is good enough. All right, so that first diagram is a picture of complementary. These two, and they make a T or an L. These two make a straight line. If they make a straight line, what do they add up to?
90.
No, 90 was an L or a T.
180.
180.
That's what I said.
I thought you said 90.
I said 180.
I'm sorry. 180 is used often when we do things like maybe a roof line coming down into a house, or like if I had to say a telephone pole. And did you ever see how they run the wires off the telephone poles? Or a tent, you're pitching a tent? Same idea. You see that all the time used 180 degrees. Straight lines are 180 degrees. So therefore, these two angles add up to 180. So I get 3n minus 1 plus 2n minus 14 equals 180. Is this a same side situation or an opposite side situation? Same, hand me again. What is it, guys? Same side. So 3n's and 2n's make 5n's, and if I have to be very careful here, that's a negative, and so is this. If I have one negative and 14 more negatives, what do I have?
15 negatives.
15 negatives, very good. 5n minus 15 is 180. Add 15 to both sides. Now we're just running through equations like we did all of that work early in the year. And this is one of the big reasons why. 5n is 195, divide by 5, n is 39. Okay? And we're going to do questions like this every single day for the next 4 or 5 days. And by the end of the 4 or 5 days, you should look at them and go, man, give me a whole test like this. Because this I can understand pretty straightforward. Okay, now, what letter do you see here? You don't see an L. You don't see a straight line like this, which is almost kind of like a sideways Y. I see an X. So X, I think, vertical angles. And what do you know about vertical angles? Everybody, what are they? Equal. Say vertical angles are equal. One more time. I want to hear you, Jerry. What do you say? Vertical angles are equal. So 6x minus 2 has got to equal 3x plus 25. Opposite side now. So opposite operation. Minus 3x. I get 3x minus 2 equals 25. Add 2. 3x equals 27. Divide by 3. X is 9. Now, if you can handle all three of those diagrams and understand where we come from, an L or a T, we add up to 90. Sideways Y, or make a straight line, half a circle, we add up to 180, and then X, and they're across from each other, they are equal to each other. If you can handle that, you're in fantastic shape for the rest of the chapter. Next, two supplementary angles are in the ratio of 2x to 3x. Find the number of degrees in the largest angle. This is a new kind of question, and we're going to practice this each and every day. When I say are in the ratio, that means they share something in common. Now, I don't know what that is. I have no idea what the thing they share in common is. So I'm just going to call it x, because in algebra, when I don't know what something is, I call it x. So the first angle is 2x, and the second angle is 3x. And since they are supplementary, what do you know about them? Hey, what's supplementary mean again, guys?
They add up to 180.
Add up to 180. So the 2x plus the 3x has to add up to 180 degrees. 2x's plus 3x's is
5x's.
5x. Divide by 5. X is 36. But that does not answer the question. What does the question say? Find the number of degrees in the largest angle. The largest angle is 3x, so that means 3 times 36, which is 108. So I have to go an additional step and plug that 36 back in. And this all harkens back to work we did earlier in the year. Two angles are complementary. One angle's 20 more than the other. How many angles are in this problem? Read.
2.
2 angles. So, first angle, second angle. Does anybody know what the first angle is?
20.
No, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say the first angle is 20. It says one angle's 20 more than the other. Does anybody know what the other angle is? No. So if I don't know what it is in algebra, what do I call it? X or n. Now the other one is 20 more than that. So can you write an expression for 20 more than x? X plus 20, good. Now, the other key word in here, magic word, complementary. What does complementary mean? Two angles add up to 90. So if I take the first angle, x, and add the second angle, x plus 20, I have to get 90. So you see how all of that word problem work, all the equation work from earlier in the year. If you did really well with that, then you're good here. Kayla, wake up time. As my dad would say, wakey, wakey.
I don't want to.
1x plus another x is what? 2x. Plus 20 is 90. Minus the 20. 2x is 70. Divide by 2. X is 35. And the smaller angle is x. So the answer is 35. Okay? Any questions? Good. Now I have a slideshow for you.
Yeah, really?
Yes, we have a new situation to cover, and it involves parallel lines cut by a transversal. And we're going to spend the next 3 or 4 days talking about this. So, I need to pull up my Keynote program here.
That's a nice dog.
Thanks. Geometry. 2 parallel lines cut by a transversal. That was our dog Bismarck many years ago when I made this slideshow. Sorry about that. Bismarck died too. Okay.
I want a husky.
This, folks, is a very famous diagram. Remember we said parallel lines? Can you see the 2 parallel lines in the middle?
Yeah, but it's like a...
Right, and then you got a line cutting across them. That line cutting across is called a transversal. Everybody say transversal?
Transversal.
Everybody write the word transversal on your paper. I'll spell it as we go. Ready? Trans, which is T-R-A-N-S,
Right here.
V-E-R-S-A-L, transversal. And it means a line that cuts across the other 2 lines. Now, the vertical line, or almost vertical line, is the transversal. Now, I want you to notice something here. What do you know about those 2 starred angles? Pay attention, because if you get this, this next few days is going to be easy. What do you know about the 2 starred angles? And if they're across from each other in an X, they are? Equal. What do you call them? Vertical angles. Good. What do you know about the 2 green dotted angles? They're equal because they are? Vertical. Vertical angles are equal. Very good. Now, the thing that's really powerful about this diagram is that I could slide it right down there, translate it, like in the last chapter when we did translations. Slide it down, and that means that those angles are also stars and circles, and when I put them back, all of the starred angles are equal, and all of the green dotted angles are equal. And that's what we're going to look for in this diagram, is to look for equal angles. Now, there's one other thing to consider in this diagram. Every one of these starred angles are equal. Every one of these green angles are equal. And these are acute angles, the starred angles. So all the acute angles, acute meaning less than 180, less than 90. All these acute angles are equal. All the obtuse or green angles, means greater than 90, less than 180, are all going to be equal to each other. What is 1 starred angle plus 1 green angle? What do you know about them? A green angle plus a starred angle. What do you know? What do they have to add up to? 180, right? Don't they make a half a circle? Don't they together make a straight line? So you learn to look for that and see. Notice all the acute angles are equal to each other. All the obtuse angles are equal too. Now, here's angles named A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. Notice all the obtuse ones, A, D, E, and H, are all equal to each other. And the acute ones are equal to each other too, B, C, F, and G. All right, so that guy there is 100 degrees. Somebody raise your hand and tell me an angle that also equals 100 degrees. Spencer. D does equal 100 degrees. Somebody else tell me another angle here. Derek.
H.
H is 100. Good. And one more. Stephen? E. Good. Now, what is the measure of angle B? Chris?
90.
Not 90. 80. Right? Because together they add up to 180. What about C? Somebody else, why C? Rach? 80, because it's across from the other 80. Tell me another angle that equals 80 here. I need more help. Ethan? F, good. And one more that equals 80. Jason? G, good. Now, what about this diagram? I'm going to put a 70 there. On your paper, put down what A, B, C, D, E, G, and H equal. A, B, C, D, E, G, H. What do they equal? Okay, now I'm going to ask an angle letter, and I want you to tell me what it equals. What does angle A equal? Chris? 110, good. What does angle B equal? Christian? Nice. What does angle C equal? Somebody who hasn't helped me yet. C, I got lots of help up there. Is she? No, C is not 110. It's 70, good. What about D? Samantha, what's D? 110, good. What is E? Angle E. Caitlin. You got to pay attention, Caitlin. Come on, head in the game. Elena, what's E? Good. What is G? Selena. What does angle G equal? How many degrees for G? Everybody help her out. Good. Rachel Whitnabin, what does H equal?
70.
No, no. Help her out. 110. Good.
110.
Now, check this out. Tell me, are those two angles equal or do they add up to 180? Are they the same kind of angle or is one acute and one obtuse? So if there's one of each, what do they add up to? 180. Good. And then we could solve and so on and so forth. Those two, are they equal or do they add up to 180? Excellent. They do add up to 180. Come on. Why are we not going here? All right. Hasta la vista. Vaya con Dios. Toodaloo. Ta-ta. Arrivederci. Smile a lot. Ciao.